folks, in this film I'm going to be unboxing, testing and reviewing a Hohem iSteady Pro 4 gimbal. So here's the gimbal. I've literally just took it out of the packaging from Amazon and that's exactly how it is. Now it's come from Germany. It's got a GmbH on here, EVAT Master Consulting GmbH, and in my experience German products are usually quite good, so fingers crossed this is going to be a decent gimbal. Let's get it opened. First of all, I need to get it out of the packaging, so I'm just going to start to cut into that with a good sharp knife. And yeah, this is very well packaged actually, because it's got another layer of cellophane underneath the outer plastic and then the box. And we can reveal this is what it should look like when set up. Actually looks quite impressive. That's got a Hero 11 on it. So my GoPro is actually a Hero 12 black. What's this? Underneath, some kind of cloth. Must be some kind of cleaning cloth. Yeah. Okay, nice little extra. Like so. Off. Okay, so I'm impressed by the packaging. I must admit, I don't like loads of plastic, but it is well packaged and that is reassuring. So it says here in German, Italian, French and Spanish. No English. Let's try the other side. Nope. Okay. But everything else is in English on the back of the box. Right, so camera wireless control, quick installation, IPX4 splash proof, 14 hours battery, which is very good, built-in power bank, so that's good, so you can charge your camera whilst you're using it. iSteady Pro, mini tripod, storage box, user manual, camera charging cable and a gimbal charging cable. So I'm pretty impressed with all that lot. Compatible with GoPro Hero 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, well I've got a 12, so that's going to be interesting. Now when I bought this, it said on Amazon that it was compatible with a 12. It better be. Okay, so within the cardboard box is another case. So let's take that out. So that's now empty. So I can put that to one side. So you've got the Hohem branding on top and it's a nice Ziploc case for storage. Okay, so usual thing there. So this is all the instructions, which I'm going to have to look through. And some more instructions just here, quick start guide, but let's take out what is in the box essentially. So this is the gimbal. It is very lightweight, it's not that heavy at all. It does have a tripod attachment which can go underneath it, just there, or that could screw straight into the bottom of a camera if you've got the right fitting on the bottom of your camera. These are the cables, so a variety of different ones. So the old style USB, is that USB-C they call it? I forgot what they call that one now, but that oldie rubbishy one, I don't like that one. That's really old, I've not seen that one for ages. That's the new up-to-date one now that all the EU things seem to have on them. Sorry, I don't know the technical names for these things. And there's another one of those cables. It looks like it's just exactly the same as a GoPro cable, essentially. So here is the power just there, so you can see where that goes in, and you can also see that you can charge from this also, so that's good. So I'm going to take this cable here. I'm going to plug that in just there, and I'm going to get this charged. So I'm going to plug this into my USB socket just here, and I'm going to lay it across these tins and let it charge up for a little while. So I need to let that charge, I need to read the instructions, I'll come back to you in a bit. Okay, I've got 3 out of 4 stars charged, so there is some charge in there. I'm going to use it now because I want to demonstrate it, because I'm actually off to the Netherlands later. And my intention is that I'm going to use it while I'm there. So I can't film from my GoPro when I'm filming my GoPro in the gimbal, so this is my camera setup now to film from. Okay, so I'm going to put my GoPro into the gimbal now. So it's got this part here which is quite flexy, it pulls out. So I'm just going to pull that out and slide it in how I think it must go. Might be easier said than done, and in fact I'm wondering if there's a catch on this. Ah, there is, there's a catch to release it. So there's a red catch here. Ah, now that makes life easier. Right. So I'm going to put the gimbal and the GoPro together like so, and then try and work out how to place this. So let's get the Hero 12 Black back in, stretch that out. Gosh, this has taken some doing, but German engineering, it's coming on, and it's going to be a good lock in place, I'll tell you. Right. Okay, I've got every faith, even though it's not switched on and in the right position, I've got every faith that that is safely in place. Now the disadvantage to using this is it means I can't use the wind muffler on the gimbal, so I'm going to get wind shear. That's the downside to it. But let's just see how it works anyway. So, USB port, charging port at the side, you've seen them earlier, and I've noticed it's got this screw just here, and this is the same kind of screw that you get on a tripod, etc. So that's going to be for another way of mounting this if you wanted to do it horizontally and have it going round another way. I think that's quite an interesting feature. So I'm going to put the rubber seal back over the USB port, and now I want to turn this on. Ooh, right. So I had to press the power on button again. And now look at that. So as I'm doing this, so it's kind of holding it steady. It did catch a little minute then. But overall, so what I'll do now is I'll just press record on my GoPro. And so the action that you're going to see is going to be what the GoPro perspective is as I'm moving this around. And I don't think it's too bad. It's not perfectly balanced, but it doesn't look too bad, does it? And so the action that you're going to see is going to be what the GoPro perspective is as I'm moving this around. And I don't think it's too bad. It's not perfectly balanced, but it doesn't look too bad, does it? So let's try moving it round. Slow pan. Not that slow. So let's try moving it round. Slow pan. Not that slow. I'd have preferred it a bit slower. See if you can go a bit slower back. You can. You've just got to be really, really gentle with the button. I'd have preferred it a bit slower. See if you can go a bit slower back. You can. You've just got to be really, really gentle with the button. This doesn't seem too bad at all. Now this is obviously work in progress. I've got to learn how to use it properly. But I feel it seems to be quite a manageable piece of kit. I mean, it's not perfectly staying in place. I can see there's some movement there. That's not good. It's trying to self-correct. I just wonder if that angle was too extreme for it. I think it's time to read the instructions probably, isn't it? So I'll switch it off for a second. And also to note, this goes in the bottom. This is just a nice little tripod, but I guess it's good for safety in terms of keeping it balanced when it's on the table like that. Yeah, that's safer. Right, I'm going to have a look in the instructions and then I want to come back to you. I'm just going through the instructions and there is actually an app to download called Hohem Gimbal. It's in the book, so let's give it a whirl. Get. Double click to install, all the usual, and open. Hohem Gimbal would like to use Bluetooth. I think we need to allow that. It wants to connect to the device, so if I turn this on, Search device, connect or not. It's picked it up straight away. Sure. Connecting device. It just seems to be frozen on a screen that says connect. I'm not 100% sure why that is. I'm wondering now if it's actually still turned on. Right, now it's definitely turned on. Ah, now the connect button has come up blue, connect, or turquoise. Right, calibration. Let's have a look. Once start to calibrate, the gimbal will be out of work. Please follow the instructions to complete the calibration steps. Confirm. Please refer to the picture above and place the stabilizer in a stationary position. I'm not quite sure what it wants me to. Well, it's in a stationary position. Not a lot happening, to be honest. Exiting. Alright, cancel. This looks like it's actually trying to do something. Maybe. I think I'm going to cancel from this because it's taking too long. And there's no. The problem is, if there's some sort of thing on the screen showing you it's doing something, then great, but there isn't. So I just think I'm going to cancel out of it, and now it isn't letting me get out of it. So I'm going to close the app down entirely. This is what the problem is with apps and Bluetooth. Okay, I always find this. They're just never that good. I've got a feeling that for me the app's going to be useless. Maybe for some of you whiz kids it's going to be great, but I'm not particularly feeling that this is going to be much use for me. It's not something I think I'm going to use. So I'm going to shut the app down. I'm going to go back to the manual and carry on. I'll come back to you. Okay, I've had a little look through the instruction book. There are only 13 pages in English out of all of this. It's just repeated in separate languages, in different languages I should say. Essentially, I think it's going to be one of those things where I just need to play around with it and use it. But what have I found out from looking in the book very briefly? So you'll note, if I just turn this on, okay. So the default mode is PF mode, which is pan follow, and that means that the tilt and roll axes are both locked, as you would expect from a gimbal. Okay, so that's fair enough. Okay, if I give it some extreme movement, then it might jigger it round, but mostly speaking, that's pretty fair, I think. There's pan and tilt follow, PTF mode, where the roll axis is locked, but the camera is able to move left, right and tilt up, down. So that's the next mode down. So if I press the mode button, so I'm now on PTF, and you can see that this is now a bit all over the place. It's not as good as it was before in the other mode. I'm not 100% sure why I'd use it in that mode, to be honest. I'm sure there's a reason. And then there's all locked. The camera stays in its current position. So if I just hit the next button for all locked, then now anyway, while I've got the camera this way around, I'm going to have to turn all of this round. See if I can just switch this round towards you, the other way. Right, so what you might notice, there's a little button, you might not see it, but there's a little button here which is a pairing button, and it says that this is to pair it with the camera so you can record from the gimbal on the camera. Now that's a feature that I won't use because it means I've got to leave the camera turned on and it's going to rinse the battery. So because it's such a small handheld thing, I'd rather still press the shutter button on top, but apparently this will connect via Bluetooth to the camera. Right, I've got the camera turned on but I'm not recording. I'll press the pair button. And predictably nothing's happening. I didn't think it would. I don't know how it would know to connect to the GoPro, in all honesty. If I press record on here now, it's not recording on the GoPro. So yeah, I'm not really sure of the usefulness of that pairing button on there. I'm just going to switch my GoPro off because I need to use it later. So I need some battery. Apologies for the background noise, incidentally, I live next to an airport. Then there's a POV mode, which is all follow an inception. Tilt axis, roll axis and pan axis all follow the movement of the gimbal. So So that's the next mode down. So this is POV mode, and yeah, there's a lot more movement on the camera, you can see. I think the default one that I'm going to use would be the pan follow mode. That just seems to be the logical gimbal mode for me. So let me go back to that one. Yeah, just snapped a little bit then when I did that. I like that snap. So this is going to be the mode that I will find most useful, because this is when you're walking and you want to film a flow. You don't want bum, 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 bum. You want it to stay nice and steady, and that actually doesn't look too bad. So I'll do some walking shots with it when I'm in Utrecht later today or tomorrow, and I'll show you what I get. But it doesn't, on the face of it, seem such a bad investment for $99.99. I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. Now the pair button at the back, it's not something that I'm going to use. So it says in the instructions that this gimbal supports the GoPro 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. GoPro 7 white and silver version are not supported due to lack of smart remote. Other cameras that this gimbal says it will work with are the DJI Osmo Action, the Insta360 1R 4K and 1 inch, and the Sony RXO, and other action cameras with similar size and weight. Quite ambiguous. Now there's an interesting thing here. This is a weakness that I've noticed, okay, but this is addressing it now, and it's saying, now you'll know if you've got GoPros, you'll know that if I just turn this round to the side, get it right. So this side of the GoPro, which is exposed, is where the power button is. But the other side of the GoPro, this side, is where the power inlet is if I want to charge it. So if I want to charge it while I'm using it, particularly from this, because it acts as a battery pack, I can't, because that's in the way. Now the book says to take the camera out simply and put it in upside down and back to front, and it should work. So I'm going to trust what the book says on that. I'm not going to actually do that at the minute. But my first impressions of this gimbal are, it seems quite straightforward to use, but I need to test it and I need to play with it. In terms of quality and how it feels, it's not particularly heavy, it's quite light, but it feels of a decent structure. It's got a nice moulded area here for the grip for your hand, which I like. And there are other things on here as well. There's different buttons which I've still not worked out what these mean. An R and an R button. I'll come back to you in Utrecht and I'll be testing it out there. Catch you later. Okay, just an update. So you can see now that I've managed to get the wind muffler on it and still get it fitted in there. And in actual fact, it does look a bit messy, but it seems to work. So that's a positive. One thing I didn't point out the other day is this thing here. This is labelled as a sports trigger, and I still haven't understood what that means fully. I'm still trying to work out what the difference is when I press it. But I'm going to go and have a little wander around Utrecht today with it, or Utrecht. So we'll find out. So I'm just showing you this piece of footage now. I'm trying to use the joystick button, which is on the gimbal, to try and get a nice smooth left to right panning shot. I want to film across the canal, but the joystick button is hypersensitive, and as soon as you touch it, it just goes too fast. It's not a nice smooth button. I can do it better manually and handheld, just holding the camera, than I can do with the gimbal, and that's a real shame. So yeah, the button, it's just not very good. It tends to just go too quickly, and it's not easy to control, unfortunately. So I've got it in track lock now, and I'm actually turning physically away from the windmill. But as I'm doing so, the windmill is staying in the centre of the picture. So that's what track lock does. You can see the gimbal and the windmill there. So as I turn the gimbal away, if you look at the gimbal, you can see that the body is staying steady, but the top bit is moving around slightly, spinning, so it keeps the windmill in the centre of the picture. Track lock. This is PF mode. And the gimbal is spinning. You see how it's keeping it up? Like that. It's keeping the camera in the same horizontal position, but it's adjusting the vertical as it goes downwards, like that. This is PF mode. And the gimbal is spinning. You see how it's keeping it up? Like that. It's keeping the camera in the same horizontal position, but it's adjusting the vertical as it goes downwards, like that. So this is the POV mode. If I bring the camera down, it stays in exactly the same position, point of view. The camera's not moving, just my hand is lifting it up and down. It's not rotating or spinning in any way. So for some reason, every now and again, the gimbal would get the camera and it would flip it upside down and back to front. And I had to manually moving the camera back into position, except for when it did this, the gimbal was then present in the bottom right of the shot, which was just silly. So essentially, the gimbal being in the frame is ruining shots, and you can't even tell when you're looking at a GoPro screen that it's in the frame. So there's just a couple of shots that it's ruined. More alarming though is what happens in this. Now look, it's nice and steady, and then all of a sudden, it falls down. It's fallen down because the gimbal has cut out, even though the battery is full. So the gimbal is on a full battery, but it just keeps powering off. I have no idea why it's doing it, but it's really frustrating. Right, so because it kept powering off, I've now taken it off the gimbal. It's back on the handheld stick. It'll be interesting to see how the footage compares. So this is me just holding a steady shot in my hands. And this is now me walking with it just on the little pole in my hand, which isn't a gimbal. So yeah, I think the gimbal is, I don't think I'm going to keep it because it's not reliable, and that's a shame because I was just getting used to it today as well. So anyway, I'll give you a full end summary, conclusion and recommendations later on. Catch you then. So after the first day of using the gimbal when I was in Utrecht, I wasn't convinced that it was a good purchase, to be honest. The joystick button was an annoyance, and I seemed to be spending a lot more time framing my shots trying to use the controls than I would have done if I'd just been holding it in my hand. In all honesty, I was beginning to feel like it was a bit of an unwise investment and a bit pointless for the GoPro. But on the second day, I started to get used to it a bit more. The kind of little nuances to it, I started to sort of get to grips with myself. Now, I'm still filming longer shots than what I would have been, so I'm using up more SD card because it is taking more time to frame the pictures and to get it just right. And there are sometimes little annoyances where I'll be doing something and I'll be tracking it down like this, and then it'd just go like and do a little dipping sort of motion, and that just ruins the shot, so you've got to do it again. And I thought at first that it was my fault. I was not holding it right, but it turns out that it's not. I've gone on and looked online, and a lot of people have said the same thing about it. So in summary, I don't think that this has been a good investment at all, and I am going to return it. Now, fortunately, I've bought it from Amazon, so the returns process is pretty straightforward. I don't recommend this gimbal to anybody with an action camera, but if you want to try it for yourself, then fine. I'm just saying I wouldn't recommend it. The key 3 sticking points for me are the joystick isn't very good. in terms of it's too erratic. You can't just have a nice smooth flow like that. It's really, really difficult to get to that. The next thing that I didn't like is all of a sudden when it would just go upside down and back to front. Like, why have you done that? I could not work out why it was doing it. It was crazy. And then when it did that, obviously, then you can see the gimbal in the bottom left-hand corner of the shot, and that was annoying. But ultimately, just dying like that, like it did. The battery was strong. It was still on 4 lights. I mean, I am impressed by the battery on this, incidentally. It is a very good battery, but for the gimbal to die when the battery's so strong and to keep having to turn it on and then it does it again a few minutes later, it's just annoying, okay? So for me, it's no good. I don't want it and I'm going to send it back. So I hope this film's been useful to you. If you're thinking about buying this gimbal, then, you know, by all means, give it a whirl. But personally speaking, I don't think it's that good. So the Hohem gimbal saga continues. I'm just going to talk you through what's happened when I've tried to return it. Before I do that though, I'm going to show you the advert on Amazon for it. And there it is. It clearly says that it does work with the 12, 11, 10, 9. So it isn't because I've been using a Hero 12. It says there on Amazon that this gimbal works with a 12. Now, after doing a bit of Google searching, it turns out that there's a lot of people that have had issues with this gimbal, not just with the 12, with the 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, etc. And the cutting out problem is a well-known issue. When I tried to initiate the return on Amazon, it sent me through to the Hohem website to do it through there, and the Hohem website told me it was too late to return it. I think not. In the UK, under the Consumer Rights Act 2015, if you buy an electrical item and it is defective, then you are well within your rights to ask for a refund. So that is what I've done. So the Amazon website sent me through to the Hohem website as if they're passing the buck. But my contract is with Amazon. I bought this from amazon.co.uk, so therefore my contract is with Amazon. So I pursued this through the Amazon website and eventually got through to the part where I could talk to an agent, you know, typing online. And I got through to Kritesh. And anyway, Kritesh was really helpful with me. And once I put the case forward, agreed the full refund. So if you do buy faulty goods online, it is important that you pursue it because sometimes the buck will be passed. Now, I bought this intentionally from Amazon because I don't usually have a massive issue in returning things with them if they're not right. And in this case, it took me a little bit more persuasion with them for them to agree to do it, but they've done it. The Hohem website only gave me 1 month and 2 days to return it when I went on there and went through all the procedures. But that is not what UK law is, and I bought this in the UK. Whether it came from somewhere else in the world, it doesn't matter. I bought it through amazon.co.uk, so therefore UK law applies. So the gimbal's going back, definitely. It's packaged up, it's ready to go, and I would not recommend it. Now, if you want to try it for yourself, feel free, but it isn't something that I would recommend. Right, see you later, folks. The film that you've just watched is a Moss Home and Garden production. You can find more by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. I'd just like to say thank you very much for supporting my YouTube channel and for watching my films. It really is very much appreciated. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my YouTube channel in order to receive future updates about the home and garden films which I upload. You can find my YouTube channel by going to www.mosshomeandgarden.co.uk. Please click on the red subscribe button. When you've done that, a little bell will appear. If you press that also, then you'll get future updates about the films which I upload. If you like my films, if you like my style of filming, then you might also like my travel channel, which you will find by going to youtube.com/Stuart Moss or type in www.mosstravel.tv. Again, if you could subscribe to that channel, it would be hugely appreciated. If you'd like to get Moss Home and Garden updates on Facebook, then please open Facebook and do a search for Moss Home and Garden, and you will find the page. If you like the page, then you will get future updates on there. And if you'd like to connect on Instagram for home, garden and travel photography, as well as some stories, then my username is StuMoss, STUMOSS. If you'd like to connect on Twitter, then my username is @StuartMoss. And if you'd like to contact me about film usage or any other issue, please just email me on stewmosshomegarden@gmail.com. Once again, thank you very much for supporting my channel, for watching my films. I do appreciate it. I'd just like you all to have a great day.